The Holdovers forces three unlikely characters to spend the holidays together, but they have more in common than they think, and this is what allows each of them to change for the better. We're talking all about it this week in Kaden's Movie Club. Spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen it, beat it. The Holdovers follows three main characters who all find themselves at Barton Academy, an elitist boarding school.
Every year at Barton Academy, students, faculty, and staff depart the campus for a 2-week winter break. But there are always an unfortunate few who have nowhere to go for the holidays. They're known as the Holdovers.
Because their parents live far away, or they're traveling, or the kid is being punished, the kid is forced to stay at the school over the holiday break. A few staff are required to remain on site, such as a cafeteria manager to make sure the kids are fed, and one teacher to act as a chaperone.
All right. Take it up.
They weren't fighting.
I see.
So our three main characters are Angus Tully, the student, Paul Hunnam, the teacher, and Mary Lamb, the cafeteria manager. Angus, Paul, and Mary seem like they couldn't be more different. Angus is a rebellious kid, Paul is a harsh teacher obsessed with history, and Mary generally keeps to herself. So what do they have in common? To put it simply, they're outsiders. They've all found their way to Barton Academy through special circumstances, as opposed to most everyone else who's at the school because they come from wealthy upper-class backgrounds. Angus is only able to attend Barton thanks to his new stepdad. Before coming to the school, Angus had been kicked out of several other boarding academies, and he's now being threatened with military school if it happens again. Paul Hunnam attended Barton as a student, but he was one of the few students who did so on a scholarship rather than through family money. And Mary only took the job as the cafeteria manager because one of the benefits was that her son Curtis could attend Barton. So all three of them find themselves at the school through necessity. Angus was forced to do it, Paul worked for it, and Mary took a thankless job so that her son could have the benefits. But all of them are surrounded by people who are simply handed the opportunity to go to a school like Barton. You can imagine why they all might have a chip on their shoulder, but the real issue is that even once they're allowed at the table, so to speak, they still aren't really part of this elitist group. They remain outsiders. The story takes place in 1970, but the filmmakers didn't just want it to take place at that time. They wanted the movie to feel like it was made at that time too.
I hope we achieved a convincing sense of 1970. What I did was I just pretended I was making a film then.
So in addition to everything in the movie like costumes, props, and locations, they filmed the movie with techniques that were popular at that time. That's why we see zooms and fades and a very specific color grade to the movie. It's all to capture the visual tone of that time. And to create the fictional school of Barton, they actually filmed at 5 different schools and meshed it all together. But the interesting part is that at one of the schools, Deerfield Academy, they also hosted auditions for the role of Angus. One of the theater students at the school, Dominic Sessa, just happened to be one of those students, and his role as Angus was his debut film role. Pretty wild to go from being in a theater class to starring in a movie that would end up being nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. As the story progresses, we come to understand even more about these characters, and that grudge they all carry starts to seem more justified. Angus tries to pose as if he's a rich kid. He brags that over the break he's going to be hanging out on a beach in St. Kitts. He's then humiliated when his mother doesn't show up on the same day that break starts, but instead calls on the phone to tell Angus that she and her new husband are going alone. At first this might not seem so bad until we learn how this all came about. Several years ago, Angus's father developed a severe mental illness. He now lives in an institution.
Hi, Dad. I think they're putting something in my food.
So Angus was forced into a place that he didn't fit in by a stepfather he didn't really love, and on top of that, it was all the result of losing the father he did love.
Used to be fine. It's better than fine. He was great. He was my dad.
After Paul graduated from Barton, he attended Harvard. He had a bright future career ahead of him until he was kicked out for plagiarism. The truth was that another student had actually cheated off Paul's work and then accused Paul to cover his tracks.
He accused me of copying from his senior thesis, plagiarizing. Well, did you? No, he stole from me. He accused me in order to sanitize his treachery, and they threw me out.
Hey, so you got kicked out of Harvard for cheating?
No, I got kicked out of Harvard for hitting him.
You hit him? What, like punched him out?
No, I hit him with a car.
Harvard sided with the other student because, wouldn't you know it, he was the son of a legacy donor. And the whole reason he's the chaperone for the Holdovers this year is because he's being punished for flunking a donor's son. The only reason he's able to teach at Barton at all is because they accepted him without a degree as a technicality, employing him as adjunct faculty and paying him less than the rest of the staff. Mary had succeeded in getting her son a great education, but what she couldn't prevent was her son getting drafted into the Vietnam War. Most of the students at Barton came from families that could also afford to send their kids to elite colleges and then avoid the draft with college deferments.
He had his heart set on sophomore. And he had the grades, but I didn't have the money. Even with financial aid, it wasn't enough. So when he got called up and no student deferment, off he went. He said, "Hey, Ma, look at the upside. When I get discharged, I can go to college on a GI Bill."
But that sadly never happened because Curtis was killed in action. Now that we have the full picture of why these three characters are in this situation, we can look at how they react to it. On one end of the spectrum, we have Paul. He's very knowledgeable about the subject he's teaching, but the thing that prevents him from being a great teacher is that he resents the students. He views them all as lazy, entitled, and undeserving.
Okay, well, it is the holidays, so, go easy on them.
Oh, please. They've had it easy their whole lives.
You don't know that, did you?
On the other end of the spectrum, Mary has just lost her son. She's surrounded by kids that will be able to avoid her son's situation because of their status in life. She has more right than anybody to have a chip on her shoulder.
With my Curtis in the cold ground and those boys safe and warm in their beds.
Mary never lets her grief, her anger, or her resentment override compassion.
I'm just saying, this was the first good thing that came with being in this prison with you.
Need I remind you that it is not my fault that you are stuck here? Do you think I want to be babysitting you?
You don't tell a boy that's been left behind at Christmas that you're aching to cut him loose, that nobody wants him?
Angus then falls somewhere in the middle ground. He's arrogant, rebellious, and constantly challenges Paul's authority.
Do not cross the Rubicon.
Alea jacta est.
But he's also kind-hearted.
They'll inform the school, who will inform your parents, and then it's curtains. You're gonna get me fired.
Is there any way we could skip this whole insurance thing?
It's just standard procedure.
I understand, but look, we were over at Squan's Pond playing hockey, and I slipped on the ice.
Angus, what are you doing?
The three of them seem like they're from totally different backgrounds, but the issues that have brought them together this year are similar, and in turn, each of them is able to pass something on to the others that allows them all to progress. Angus finds positive adult figures in both Mary and Paul. He learns not only to care about the things in the world, but to be aware of how it works, who it benefits, and who it doesn't. He will go into the world as a better person. Mary is able to take a small step in overcoming her own grief by reconnecting with her family, which only happens thanks to Paul and Angus's field trip. She then decides to keep working and saving up money to fund the education of her future niece or nephew. And Paul has the most significant arc. Because he allowed Angus to visit his father in the institution, Angus's parents find out and come to the school to file a complaint. Paul now has the choice to say that Angus broke the rules to trick Paul into letting him visit his father, even though he wasn't supposed to, which is technically true. Or Paul can say it's his fault, so that Angus won't have to go to military school, but he'll be fired.
This is a family matter, and you had no right to interfere.
I don't give a shit. I said I don't give a shit. You two were unreachable. He was all alone at Christmas. I thought the kid should see his father.
And for the first time in this movie, we see Paul truly make a selfless decision on behalf of the student that has been a representation of what he's resented in life. He makes this decision as a result of the example that Mary set for him, and because of the time he took to get to know Angus, to see Angus as more than what Paul assumed about him. Paul chooses to self-sacrifice in the hopes that it will allow Angus to have the future that he and Mary and her son Curtis never could.
Keep your head up, all right? You can do this.
Yeah, I was gonna tell you the same thing.
The Holdovers brings together three characters that have been outcast and slighted in one way or another, but allows them to each find compassion, forgiveness, and strength to continue moving forward. So if the spirit of the holiday season is actually about being selfless and choosing to allow the good in people to override the bad, including in ourselves, then I can't imagine a better story to celebrate with. But next week we'll finish off our unconventional holiday movie watch list with a movie that's simultaneously a bizarre holiday movie and a bizarre Batman movie. Batman Returns is the second Tim Burton Batman movie, the sequel to 1989's Batman. Both movies star Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, but this movie brings in Danny DeVito as the Penguin and Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. Both of these movies bring Burton's unique style to Gotham City, but this one definitely seems more Burton. The three primary characters are all weird outcasts, there's grotesque things, there's cute things, and it's all mashed together in a kind of holiday fever dream. So here's some questions to keep in mind while you watch. It's almost impossible to picture a big superhero blockbuster having this kind of tone today, but this and Burton's first Batman movie were both box office hits. Why do you think audiences were receptive to this style and tone at the time? Who do you think is the main character of the story? Why? If you were a parent in 1992 and took your kid to see this movie because it was advertised in a McDonald's Happy Meal, would you think the movie was appropriate? So let's chat about the Holdovers in the comments, and I'll see you back here next Sunday to discuss Batman Returns. And if you want to stay in the know about Movie Club, you know where to go.